Hello, in this lecture we'll be working a problem similar to the homework and or assignment. The numbers will change, the format will remain much the same. This will be the problem that we will be working and we will be including it in this Excel worksheet. I do recommend putting the numbers into the Excel worksheet because they can help with calculations, they can help with reworking the problems, and it is good just to know and learn the Excel. So let's see what we have here. We have Whitehorse, the plant manager of Travel Fees Indiana plant, is responsible for all of that plant's costs other than her own salary. The plant has 2 operating departments and 1 service department. The camper and trailer operating department manufacture different products and have their own managers. The office department, which Whitehorse also manages, provides services equally to the 2 operating departments. A budget is prepared for each operating department and the office department. The company's responsibility accounting system must assemble information to present budgeted and actual cost in performance reports for each operating department manager and the plant manager. Each performance department includes only those costs that a particular operating department manager can control. So we're going to create these reports, and once again the idea being that we only want to include the costs that are under the control of the particular managers, and those costs being raw materials, wages, supplies used, and equipment depreciation. So they're specifically laying out those costs that should be included in the responsibility of these particular segments. The plant manager is responsible for the department manager's salaries, utilities, building rent, office salaries other than her own. So these are specifically the costs that are going to be allocated to the plant manager area of responsibility accounting when we create the budget. To do office salaries other than her and other office costs plus costs controlled by the 2 operating department managers. So the annual department budgets and actual costs for the 2 operating departments follow. So here we have the costs. We've got the budget and the actuals. We've got the camper, trailer combined. That would be, of course, these 2 columns combined. Camper, trailer combined for the actual, and that would be these 2 combined. And then we have the totals down here, which of course is sum in this column, and sum in the combined column, which would also be the same as these 2 columns. And then under here we have the office department's annual budget and cost budget and its actual cost flows for the plant manager salary, other office salaries, and other office costs for both budget and actual. So we're going to prepare a responsibility accounting performed reports that list costs controlled by the following. In each report include the budgeted and actual cost and show the amount that each actual cost is over or under the budgeted amount. So we're going to start with the manager of the camper department, and then of course we'll scroll on down to the manager of the trailer department, and then the manager of the Indiana plant. So in creating our report, we're going to talk about the controllable costs. And if we go back up to our information up here, it says that each performance report includes only those costs that a particular operating department manager can control, and they list them right here. So they got the raw materials, the wages, the supplies used, and equipment depreciation. So those are controllable according to the criteria of the problem. So if I just list those out right here, we got the raw material, employee wages, supplies used, and the depreciation. Those are the items that we're going to pick out of this actual information, both budgeted and actual result information for the 2 departments. So in this case, we got the raw materials for the camper department being on the budget side, 195. And the actual side was 1942. And I'm going to put a formula here subtracting those out. I'm actually going to put the C column minus the B column, meaning the 194.2 minus the budgeted 195, so that we get a negative number because we actually had an actual amount higher than the budget, which is kind of bad, so we're going to make it negative. So I'm going to say equals left once, meaning C8 minus left twice. I'm using the arrows in this case. The 195, so C8 minus B8, or the 194.2 minus the 195 give us a negative 800, and of course that is under represented by the brackets in this case. So then we have the employee wages. So employee wages, we've got the 104 compared to the actual being the 106.6. And once again, we're going to say this equals the 106.6, the actual, minus the 1044. So I'm doing that with cell reference C9 minus B9, and that will give us the favorable difference, in this case of 2.6. Why favorable? Because, of course, the budget is lower than the actual, which is good when we're talking about expenses. So then we have the supplies used, and if we take a look at the supplies, we have here the 33 and the 31.7. And if we subtract that out, we're going to say this minus this, the actual minus the budget, gives us a negative 13. And then we're going to do the same for the depreciation, which we will take then the depreciation for the budgeted amount, 60. And we'll take the depreciation for the actual amount, 60. And that should be pretty much the same obvious. That should be an obvious number because that's an estimate in and of itself. So 60 minus the 60 means we have a difference, of course, of 0. And if we sum these up, we use the sum function equals SUM and highlight these items. So the 195 plus 104 plus 33 plus the 60. We can do the same function over here, or we can do the autofill. I can put my cursor here, put my cursor right where it looks like that, left click and drag. And then we want to always verify that it did what we thought it should do. How? We could double click on this cell and say, what do I want it to do? I want it to highlight this number, these 4 numbers here. If I double click on it, I see a sum function, and of course it's highlighting those 4 numbers. And that is because when we copy and paste the cell reference, it moves the relational formula over. Same thing over here, and double click, and it moved that over, so we're highlighting these. And of course we can do some quick math here, or even just double check it with Excel by highlighting these and looking at our sum tab, and it sums up to 500. Looks correct. So I'll let you do the same thing for the B section here, and now let's move down to the manager of India plant and see what we have there. So once again, if we move down here and we look at this last sentence where it says the plant manager is responsible for department managers' salaries, utilities, building rent, office salaries other than her own, and other office costs, plus all costs controlled by the 2 operating department managers. So if we list those, we just list those out. We got the department manager, the utilities, the rent, the other office, the other office costs, the camper department, and the trailer department. Then we can go in here and we can pick up those numbers. So of course we're picking up these numbers from our list of areas here. So the department manager, and we are looking at the combined now because we're looking for the entire section now. So we have the 95,000, and if we look at the utilities, then we can pick up this 9,000 here. If we look at the actual then, and we are looking at the department salaries, we actually had 975. And if we look at the utilities, we had the actual of 8,003. And once again, we'll do the same type of over-under, saying equals the actual less the budget. And we'll do the same thing here, equals the actual less the budget. And so on. I'll let you go through the rest of those and pick those numbers up. And then just note that if we're talking about these last 2, the camper department and the trailer department, those are, of course, these 2 departments that we just looked at. So if we think we're picking up the camper department, then we're picking up equals this number we just picked up right here. And if we compare that budget to the actual, this number here, that's where those numbers will come from. These 2, of course, will come from here and here once we calculate those. And if we subtract those out, we have this. There's our 500. There's our 500. So I'll let you finish the rest of this worksheet.